teleSUR English presents a new episode of China Now, a Media's production that showcases the culture, technology, and politics of the Asian giant. In the first segment, we have in an interview on December 6th, Wang Xiqin, Deputy Director of the China Academy of Information and Communications and Technology and head of the 6G Task Force, revealed China is on track to achieve commercial use of 6G by 2030, with standardization to be completed by 2025. Also on December 6th, the Embassy of China in the United Kingdom held a press conference to counter the UK's erroneous statement made during the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference. Let's see.
China Current is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to China Current. I'm Chris. On December 5th, American rating agency Moody's downgraded its China's sovereign credit rating outlook from stable to negative, while retaining a long-term rating of A1 on the country's sovereign bonds. Moody's cited growing risks of persistently lower mid-term economic growth and a property downturn, which pose broad downside risks to China's physical, economic, and institutional strength. This decision has drawn disappointment from China's Ministry of Finance, which called the matter disheartening. In an interview, the ministry emphasized despite fluctuations in economic recovery during different quarters, China has successfully overcome risks and pressures resulting from the pandemic and various domestic factors. In the first 3 quarters of this year, China's GDP grew by 5.2% year-on-year, with domestic demand making a significant contribution to this growth, particularly through consumer spending, which contributed 83.2%, and capital formation, which contributed 29.8%. Regarding Moody's concerns about local government debt, the Ministry of Finance stressed that it has established an institutional framework to prevent and resolve risks related to local government debt. At the end of 2022, China's local government debt stood at 35.1 trillion yuan, and total government debt, including debt managed by the central government, was 61 trillion yuan. The government's statutory debt-to-GDP ratio of 50.4% is below the internationally accepted 60% warning line and lower than that of major market economies and emerging markets. Moody's downgrade of China's sovereign credit rating outlook carries a significant implication. However, China's Ministry of Finance remains confident in the country's economic prospects and its ability to deepen reforms and navigate risks and challenges. And next up on technology. On December 4th, a team from Chinese Academy of Sciences, China's leading research institute, announced significant progress in stroke treatment. This achievement is attributed to the utilization of brain-computer interface technology, which has the potential to regulate neuronal discharge and facilitate the recovery of damaged neurons and brain circuits. The team developed an implantable hydrogel neuroelectrode capable of acquiring brain neuroinformation from the recipient and modulating neurons based on this information. Through electrode, the researchers conducted an 8-week-long monitoring of brain neuroinformation in a laboratory mouse, successfully modulating stroke-affected brain neural circuits. This modulation effectively reduced the infarct area of brain tissue and facilitated the restoration of the mouse motor function. Research on implantable BCI devices emerged in the mid-1990s. Despite certain technological disparities between China and the US, the emerging BCI technology presents an opportunity for Chinese researchers to catch up and even surpass their international counterparts in a relatively short period. As the technological competition between the two countries intensifies, humanity may witness another technological leap similar to the one in the Cold War era. Next up, in an interview on December 6th, Wang Zhiqin, Deputy Director of China Academy of Information and Communications Technology and head of the 6G Task Force, revealed that China is on track to achieve commercial use of 6G by 2030, with standardization to be completed by 2025. During the interview, Wang Zhiqin outlined the envisioned future applications of 6G technology. He highlighted 3 new scenarios: the fusion of communication and perception, the integration of communication and AI, and a concept of ubiquitous connectivity, which refers to the integration of physical and virtual domains. These scenarios are expected to connect not only individuals but also various intelligent entities such as robots and metaverse environments. Wang also mentioned that 5G could be further enhanced to address industry-specific challenges, which could pave the way for 6G advancements. China began 6G technology trials in 2019 and has been conducting research on system architecture and technical solutions. These efforts are laying the groundwork for future advances in 6G technology. As China continues to make progress in 6G, it is positioning itself at the forefront of next-generation communication technology to revolutionize connectivity and unlock new opportunities for the digital future. Next up, on carbon emissions. On December 6, Chinese Embassy in the United Kingdom held a press conference to counter the UK's erroneous statements made during the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference. The UK official claimed that China, as a major emitter, has significantly increased its emissions since 1990. Chinese embassy spokesperson emphasized that global climate change is the cumulative result of greenhouse gas emissions. Developed countries like the UK have emitted substantial greenhouse gases during their industrialization process spanning over 200 years, bear an undeniable historical responsibility. The spokesperson also pointed out that China has made significant progress in reducing CO2 emissions intensity, which decreased by over 51% in 2022 compared to 2005. China has ceased the construction of new coal-fired power plants overseas and mainly supplies the global wind power and photovoltaic equipment markets. Moreover, China has funded over 1.2 billion RMB to the Global South, supporting developing countries in enhancing their climate change resilience. These efforts fully demonstrate China's commitment to combating climate change. The embassy spokesperson urged the UK to respect the facts and take tangible actions, collaborating with other nations in addressing the shared challenge of humanity rather than evading its responsibility. Next up, on December 6, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin announced during a regular press that Belt and Road Initiative has achieved full coverage of Arab nations. Wang explained that on November 29th, China and Jordan signed a memorandum of understanding between the government of the People's Republic of China and the government of Hashhash Kingdom of Jordan on jointly promoting the construction of the Silk Road Economic Belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, which means China has now signed cooperation documents for the BRI with 22 Arab countries and the Arab League. As the BRI marks its 10th anniversary, bilateral trade between China and Arab countries exceeded $430 billion in 2022, doubling the figure from a decade ago. China imported 270 million tons of oil from Arab nations, accounting for half of its total global imports. Over the past decade, mutual investment between China and Arab countries have grown exponentially, with the implementation of over 200 major cooperative projects benefiting nearly 2 billion people. Wang Wenbin emphasized that BRI has become a significant international platform for cooperation, providing strong support for the establishment of a shared future between China and Arab nations. Next up, let's take a look at the popular Chinese boba tea. On November 28th, a tea latte and its packaging, made by Hey Tea, was launched and quickly gained popularity. However, the religious elements in the outer packaging also attracted considerable criticism. On December 1st, the Shenzhen Religious Affairs Bureau summoned Hey Tea for a talk. The company subsequently removed the controversial product from the sale on December 3rd and conducted an inspection related to the situation. Chinese regulation explicitly prohibits commercial promotions in the name of religion. According to the Bureau, Hey Tea had played a close-to-the-line game. Now we can only summon them for talks, which is also a legal measure, and the company has been very cooperative, showing good attitude in admitting their mistake. They sent us rectification report on Friday night, and by December 3rd, all products have been removed from the shelves, an officer stated. Chinese law strictly divides the religious and the secular space. By law, religious affairs could only operate within the worship places, as well as religious schools. Next up, on December 1st, China welcomed the first batch of visa-free travelers after the start of its visa-free policy for France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, and Malaysia. According to the latest regulations of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China, from December 1, 2023 to November 30, 2024, holders of ordinary passports from the above-mentioned 6 countries can enter China visa-free for business, tourism, visiting relatives and friends, and transit for no more than 15 days. A total of 2,029 inbound visitors entered China through visa-free channels on Friday, the first day of China's implementation of 15-day visa-free policy for ordinary passport holders from the above-listed 6 countries, the National Immigration Administration said on Saturday. According to NIA, the number of individuals entering China from these 6 countries on Friday increased by 12.6% compared to the previous day. Next up, on December 3rd, China Eastern Airlines flight MU721 from Shanghai to Hong Kong was grounded in Xiamen due to a malfunction during the flight, and the flight arrived in Hong Kong at 6:33 p.m. The flight, operated on a 6.5-year-old Airbus A330-300, departed Shanghai Hongqiao International Airport at 8:10 a.m. It was intended to arrive at Hong Kong International Airport at 10:50 a.m. Those who experienced the incident on board said that they heard a loud bang on the plane's left side, and then the fuselage began to shake violently, and a passenger on the plane's left side said the engine had broken down. According to information posted by netizens, there was visible damage to the aircraft's engine fan blades. Senior Captain Chen Jianguo said in an interview that engine blade separation is a serious engine failure, usually caused by foreign object impact, engine blade mass, and engine intake stripping, resulting in blade damage. The specific cause is subject to further investigation by the airline. Last but not least, on December 4th, the National Enterprise Credit Information Publicity System updated that on November 30th, there was a change in the corporate structure of Evergrande Real Estate Group. Zhao Changlong stepped down as chairman, with Liang Wenkang taking over the role. Previously, Zhao assumed the position of chairman of Evergrande Real Estate Group from Xu Jiayin in August 2021. Evergrande has been in crisis since the beginning of this year. On August 17th, Evergrande Group, one of China's largest real estate developers, has filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States. Evergrande, which owes over $300 billion, has been struggling with a liquidity crisis for months. It has missed multiple bond interest payments. In September, Xu Jiayin, the former chairman and founder of Evergrande, was detained by police. According to the company's announcement, Xu has been subject to mandatory measures on suspicion of crimes. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Chris, looking forward to hearing from you, and see you next time.
We will go for a short break, but we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to China Now. This second segment, we have overlap, continuing with the interview of last week with Arwa, co-founder of Side Truth Initiative, and Dr. Akel, coordinator of international relations of the Palestinian People's Party, on what it is the future expectations of the Palestinian people. Moreover, in Thinkers Forum, we have the director of China Institute, Funan University, Shan Weiwei, in the Symposium of Africa, Current Situation and Future Trends. Let's have a look.
But looking forward, you have painted the picture of the past and present. But looking forward, what's the future expectation of the Palestinian people? Which solution would you prefer? Is that the common aspiration of the Palestinian people, or just a faction within the Palestinian people, the two-state solution, one-state solution? Which is it?
We believe that there is two sides: Israeli perspective and Israeli plans to have Palestine without Palestinians, and they are pushing Palestinians to go out, to be refugees again in Arab countries, around Palestine. Israel is not willing to accept any kind of solution with the presence of Palestinians inside Palestine. And because of that, from 1947, Israel was established, but they refused to allow the establishment of the Palestinian state as the base of the two-state solution from the Resolution 181. After that, they occupied the rest of Palestine, aiming to have Palestine without Palestinians again. And they pushed a lot of Palestinians, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, to be refugees again, to go to Jordan, to Syria, to Lebanon. And after that, with the massacres against Palestinians in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Syria, Israel is bombing Syria in everyday base. They don't want peace in the Middle East. And with this attack and with this genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and their behavior in West Bank, we believe that Israel is not willing to have any solution or to allow any kind of Palestinian independence or two-state solution. Until now, the official position of the Palestinian leadership and the international community and the UN resolutions is the two-state solution. But Israel is committing every effort to kill this possibility, especially in West Bank, where the Palestinian state has to be established. West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. Israel is annexating East Jerusalem with Trump to recognize the sovereignty of Israel on Jerusalem and recognizing it as capital of Israel, transferring the embassy to Jerusalem. Israel is refusing any kind of negotiations about Jerusalem. Israel is refusing to negotiate any kind of solution in West Bank by Israeli settlers to control more than 60% of Palestinian land, where the Palestinian state has to be established. We can say that this kind of solution, the two-state solution, which is accepted by the international community and by the Arab League and by the Palestinian official leadership, is killing every day by Israeli behavior, Israeli policy, and Israeli state. And because of that, the main issue now is to stop this massacre, to stop this genocide, and then to start some kind of negotiations for the future of the region, because it is not only Palestine. Israel is occupying Golan from Syria, occupying parts of Lebanon. It is an aggressor in the Middle East, playing a role of imperialist interests in the Middle East, saving their interests, and because of that, they are all supporting this Israeli aggression. First of all, we have to stop this massacre, to stop this genocide, and then on the table every solution which will be in favor of the interests of Palestinian people, the peoples of the region, and the peoples of Israel can be discussed. But with this aggression, nobody can now talk about the solutions or about the future.
Ms. Arwa, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, maybe emphasize, I think we as Palestinians, we made many concessions. We already the indigenous people of Palestine, and we actually, when we signed the Oslo Accord, we give more than 80% of the Palestinian land. We also, the Palestinian Authority, which is Fatah especially, they gave up the armed struggle, and they start to talk about peace struggle since Oslo Accord till now. And the Palestinians actually is, from my opinion and the opinion of many youth, Palestinian youth, actually, we did many concessions in order to achieve peace. But Israel doesn't want peace. Israel in all ways doesn't want peace. Let's say it's not our task to tell what is the solution, because we did as we can to achieve peace. Even we are the victims of this harsh colonization. I think the question now, Palestinians will keep fighting for their rights, for their lands. And we as Palestinians, we want peace. And we showed this in these long years. But Israel doesn't want peace, and they keep lying and lying and lying, and they keep saying that Palestinians don't want peace. On the ground, again, I think what we need now is stop the aggression against the Gazan people, and also against people in West Bank, against people inside Israel, because Israel now also targeting the Palestinian inside Israel, not only the Palestinian in West Bank and Gaza. Palestinian will not stop defending their rights, actually.
Yes, I mean,
I
option
want
left.
only to add this, that the expression of Israeli policy was expressed by one Israeli minister who said that Palestinians have three choices: or to be killed, or to go out from Palestine, from Israel, or to accept the occupation. This was an official statement of Israeli Minister of Finance. Netanyahu in the United Nations showed a map with Israel taking a part of Jordan without any mention of Palestine. This is the plans and the imagination of Israeli leadership for the future. No solution with Palestine, no Palestinian state. Palestinians had to be disappeared from the region. This is the Israeli plans for the future, unfortunately.
Well, that's a very bleak future. I think we on our show will definitely call for immediate ceasefire. We will call for the restoration of peace before the relevant party will sit back at the negotiation table.
The history showed that United States and Europe don't care about lives, don't care about human lives.
Exactly.
They showed that in Vietnam, they showed that in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Palestine, in Lebanon, anywhere. Human lives are not important for Israel, for United States, for Britain, and for NATO. Now in Ukraine, they showed the same. They are insisting to continue the war in Ukraine, independent how many Ukrainians will be killed or how many Russians will be killed. And because of that, if they don't be forced to stop this aggression and to ask for immediate ceasefire, they will not do that by their feelings or humanity inside them, which is absent all these decades, unfortunately.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think it's very hypocritical when when the West in general will say, okay, we respect humanity, we respect human rights, and which in fact they only respect their own human rights when it comes to their own race, their own ethnicity, their own religion. It shows time after time that they have utterly no respect for other people, for other faiths, from other nationality. And I think because of this such a strong absolutist take on the religious morality, or so to speak, what they believe to be good must be good, and all the rest of the world is just pure evil. And I think that fundamentalist outlook is the root evil of all things. I think the international order itself is an order that is deeply unjust, is an order that favors certain people, that those people are more free, more equal, more entitled to rights than all the rest of us, all the rest of the world. And I think it's really funny when you hear renowned international relations scholar Joseph Nye ask you, what is the Global South? It's an empty notion. He said the Global South is an empty notion. And I think that reflects, in a certain sense, that this level of hypocrisy from the West.
This was shown by their reaction on the latest developments in Gaza. They don't care about more than 12,000 people to be killed in Gaza, or 30,000 people to be injured, 5,000 children, women. But if any Israeli settler will feel panicked, they will run to Israel to express their solidarity. This is the hypocrisy of the West and the hypocrisy of these countries, of United States, Western, and the European countries, the NATO countries, and all other followers, marionettes in the world, because when they put pressure on many countries in United Nations not able to raise their hand to vote for ceasefire, it means what is the real policy of United States and allies in the world, forcing people and countries to follow blindly their crimes and their policies in the international community and in United Nations and so on.
And in this regard, I think also the Western government not only act against the South, I think they also act against their own people, because we saw millions in streets actually supporting Palestine and supporting the ceasefire and to stop the aggression. But still these governments actually, against the will of their people, they are still supporting Israel by political positions. They talk about democracy all the time and giving people lies about democracy, but they actually are violating the democracy even in their countries and against the will of the majority of their people.
Yeah, certainly. And you know what strikes me the most is that how they conflate intentionally, I believe intentionally, with fair and just criticism against Israel with the so-called anti-Semitism, which is hatred for Jews. Whoever criticizes Israel's policy against Palestinian people, the level of harm committed, whether it's in the occupied territory or in Gaza, this atrocity. Whenever you mention that in the West, they will label you as a Jew hater, you're an anti-Semite. And I find that especially distressing, because you can't automatically become racist when you express disapproval of a nation's policy, a state policy that is obvious apartheid policy. And I think that is a very sinister conflation of notions. And it's very important to make it absolutely clear that if you criticize, if you say what Nazi did in the past against the Jews, the Holocaust was wrong, then of course the Israeli government's action against people of Palestine is definitely wrong. You can't just argue for the one side of it and disregard all the others. And I think that is a very important distinction we must draw, especially on the international stage, because a lot of people in the West, they are afraid to speak out for the Palestinian people. They are afraid to be labeled as anti-Semite because it carries such damage to their reputation, social reputation. And I think that's something we must point out.
Yes. I think that we must fight against these ideas, but we have to say that also because of the mass media, which is controlled by them, they are insisting with this and showing that any position against Israel is that. But nobody is talking about their massacres during the history. France killed 1.5 million of Algerians through the liberation movement.
Yes.
United States killed millions of Vietnamese and Cambodians and Laotians in Indochina during the liberation movement. United States killed 500,000 of Iraqis, 500,000 of Afghanis. Israel killed 500,000 of Palestinians from 1948 until now. The media is not talking about that. And because of that, we believe that our struggle also must to be concentrated in this field, in the media, to show the truth and to show the reality, what is going on and what happened in the history and why this conflict is continuing without solution. They are always ready to label any liberation movement as terrorism. They created ISIS and attacking Syria for 13 years because they want to change the regime in Syria, putting hundreds of thousands of mercenaries to come from all over the world to Syria to fight against the regime, while changing the regime in every country is a right of their people, not a right of United States or European Union or NATO. This is their policy covered by the media, controlled by them, and I think that a part of our struggle must be there for the media, for showing the truth, for showing the reality and the real history of every conflict in the world, from the beginning of the colonialism in Africa, in Middle East, in Latin America, in Asia, because this is their black history.
Yes.
History of killing, death, and destruction.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the indigenous people of America, how they wanted the land, but not the people. So they just wiped them out.
There is a similarity between Americans and Israelis. Americans with the indigenous people and Israelis with the Palestinians. They believe and they want the same result. But unfortunately, we hope and we are sure that they will not succeed. They will not succeed. Palestinian people will be here. Palestinian people will stay here, will continue fighting until achieving their rights.
Yes. I think the Chinese people are in a unique position to tell the story because unlike many Western nations, when they had a very dark history with their own Jewish persecution, so their people feel indebted. I mean, they feel guilty toward the Jews, so they are afraid to criticize the government behavior of Israel. Whereas China, we didn't have that history, so we can we can seek truth from facts. So the fact is that Israel had occupied Palestine and oppressed its people, and China is not afraid to speak out against any unjust behavior from a government. I believe we have come to the end of our conversation, and I thank you, sir, and I thank you, Ms. Arwa, both for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I will just share with you a few points here. One is that as a scholar who focuses on the Chinese model of development, I always say China has indeed succeeded in building socialism. For one thing, China is the largest economy since 2014 by purchasing power parity. So it's already 9 years into this status. And China produced the world's largest middle class, 400 million people, real middle class. When they go to America, they're also middle class, so larger than the US population. China is at the forefront of the new industrial revolution. I just got this Huawei Mate 60 yesterday. I know it's better than Apple, the iPhone, yeah. And which means already China is different. What's more important is, as we all know, this world order is grossly unfair and unjust. What people call, and many scholars describe as dependency, as a peripheral central relationship. And China is perhaps the first large economy developing country that has broken through this dependency. In other words, China itself has become a center. I put this way, it's simultaneously the largest trading partner, investment partner, and the technology partner with the periphery, with developing countries, and with the West, if they prefer, where capability is there. Yeah, of course, they are having their own problems to sort out. So this capacity means a lot. The world is no longer same. For instance, if you look at the US monetary policy so far, in the past, with this kind of printing US dollars, many countries will run into financial crisis and go bankrupt. But this time, technically, only a small country called Sri Lanka was completely broken. But other developing countries also experienced tremendous difficulties, but not yet completely broken. Countries like Argentina, like Brazil, in tremendous difficulty, but now they trade with China. Yeah, they borrow Chinese currency or Chinese dollars, whatever. So this means a lot changes in this new world with the rise of China. And concerning the Chinese model, we have to mention, as some of you already mentioned, Chairman Mao and Chairman Deng Xiaoping. Mao's role in political liberation of the Chinese people, in engaging so many social revolutions, land reform, women's liberation, basic education, basic medical system for all Chinese. So this kind of social structure has been laid by Chairman Mao. Yet it's also true that by the time when Deng Xiaoping came to power, China was a very poor country by per capita GDP. It's lower, or far lower than most African countries. Yet, with 4 decades of reform and opening up, indeed, China succeeded in what we call learning from outside world, engage with globalization, but in a critical way. That's very important. As Deng Xiaoping said, we have to be selective. Otherwise, we embrace economic liberalization, but not political liberalization. Even within economic liberalization, we're also selective. As a result, China is one of the few that has indeed outperformed others in globalization. Now with BRI, China is actually trying to shape a new type of globalization. The older type is based on neoliberalism. It's based on more or less zero-sum game. The West win, others lose. Now, BRI is basically based on this philosophy of discussing together, building together, benefiting together. This new type of globalization, it's gaining momentum. Now over 150 countries have joined this, what we call the Modest initiative. It's really changing the surface of the world. And behind this, there are very important Chinese ideas. If the Western idea is divide and rule, the Chinese idea is unite and prosper. This is practiced within China, but also now outside China. We hope Africa will be united, Middle East will be united, Europe will be united, Southeast Asia will be united, Asia will be united, Latin America will be united. The more united, the better. This is really based on our Chinese civilization. You can only be united. For one thing, why Pan-Africanism is so important, given the scale of modernization, you need to have a market, the size of a market. Any investor goes to a country. If to go to Benin, the market is very small. We prefer to have a larger market, say West Africa or Southern Africa, or even larger Pan-Africa. In other words, the more united market is, the better for investment. It produces better results for investment. In this sense, I think it's crucial. Another important idea from Chinese model is what we call people's livelihood first. This is also very much part of the philosophy of Chinese Communist Party. Whatever you do, political, economic, social policies, you should end up in tangible benefits for people. In other words, politics is not just slogans, it's just empty coffee, chat, whatever. It should be produce tangible results. The Chinese approach is quite down to earth and pragmatic, produce good results. Now, having said that, this particular Ukrainian crisis, conflict, and the Russian approach to the sanctions imposed by the United States, I describe it this way. I said the United States has launched a currency war against Russia. The Chinese expression of currency war or currency is made of two words. One is goods or natural resources or goods. The other is money. So these two words together constitute currency. Now, amazingly, if you look at this, Russia said, yes, we have goods, resources. You have money, but your money cannot buy our goods and resources. You have to use our money. I think this message is revolutionary. Today, if you look at the BRICS summit held in Johannesburg, there's 5 original members plus new members and plus 20 more who want to be members. All the goods are in this camp. So this is very important. If you look at the structure of the BRICS, the 11 members, there are internal differences between China, between India, between other countries. Yet, there's one commonality. All of them want to change the current international order. Unipolar order, dominated by United States and West, into a multipolar order in which the West and the rest are at least in parity with each other. So this is revolutionary. So when I think of today, you have BRICS, you have G77 plus China, and we have Global South, and we have goods. That's important. China has manufactured goods. I call China rise of 4 industrial revolutions in one. First, second, third, and fourth, and China in the frontier. So China is one of the very few countries that can provide goods and services from all the 4 industrial revolutions. That's why the United States lost trade war, is losing the tech war. If you look at the trade surplus last year, largest, number 1, China. Number 2, Russia, despite the sanctions imposed by the West. Number 3, Saudi Arabia. So all these are in the global south. So in China today, we are talking about the what's called the internal circulation. Given the further pressure and sanction from the United States, the West against China, China has to consider within China itself, we can do everything. Of course, this last resort philosophy strategy. Actually, we prefer both circulation, internal and external. We are promoting that. Within the global south today, within the BRICS and the expanded BRICS, we can already have this internal circulation. This is why the West is so much afraid of, fearful of the rise of global south and the expansion of the BRICS. So I think we have far better conditions than before to really change the current international order. As we have discussed, in different ways, defeat hegemonism, imperialism, and this old, outdated global order, and replace it with a new order which is more people-friendly, people-centered, and more socialistic.
And this was another episode of China Now, a show that opens a window to the present and the future of the Asian giant. Hope you enjoy it. See you next time.